welcome back to another episode of DNA Live. My name is Jeff Wright. I'm so happy to be here with you today. If you're joining us for the first time, be sure to say hello in the comments. If you're joining us for your 12th time, please say hello in the comments as well. We're so happy to have you here. Let us know where you're watching from. I am in the DNA Global Secretariat office today. I've not been in here much recently, but it's good to be back. We have got the world map behind us. That's how you know I'm here. I don't need to use a fake library from Google Images as my background. So excited to be here. Happy to have you here as well. I'm really excited about our guest today. Before I invite her in, I want to share some news with you about the DNA Network. Last year, we had a very special guest in town, Arturo Cuba. Arturo Cuba is a dear friend. He's been on DNA Live pretty early on, I think episode maybe 3 or 4. I could be wrong about that. He is a practitioner of biblical worldview, of applying biblical principles for transformation. And he has many, many years experience working with different people groups. He is a blessing to me every time I hear him speak. And he came into town and shared for multiple days in front of a camera. He did it in 2 languages, Spanish and English. And we have now taken all the English and chopped it up into 31 days worth of podcasts. Or if you're ambitious, you can listen to all 31 in one day. They're available at 31 Days of Worldview Wisdom with Arturo Cuba. I think that's being hosted on Buzzsprout, but you can find it on most of your podcast providers. There'll be a link in the comments right now. So please check that out. It's just rich stuff. I really, really enjoy listening to Arturo, and I think it'll be a blessing to you as well. Before we bring our guests on, I want to say if these shows, these hours have been a blessing to you, please please share, invite others to watch it. If you want to find out what we're about, you can visit disciplenations.org and see what this organization is about, how we can help equip you with the biblical worldview. And one of the tools we use to do that is quorumdeo.com. It's our free online biblical worldview school. We encourage you to check that out. If you like what you see and you want to support us financially, there's a donate button on the website. All right, without further ado, I'm going to invite my guest, Ana Santos, in. I don't have a big introduction for her because that's what we're talking about today. We are going to go over her life story from the Amazon to the Sahara. And I'm very happy to have Ana on. Ana, would you join us, please? And I'll give a little bit of an introduction. Hello, Ana. Please unmute yourself as well. This is a conversation. It's live, but I got my coffee. You know, you're probably...
To get my water. So
your white wine, wonderful. Okay. No, water, right.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be Tia Ana for this hour, okay?
Oh my goodness.
In Portuguese, it'd be Tia Ana, right? Chia?
I don't know if the Brazilians will like that, but anyway, yeah.
Yes.
Tia.
You have a lot of life experience. We connected earlier this week, and one thing that you said that really struck me was that you want to talk about the how and not the why. Is that right? You know, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm doing it, and not just the why. So I think that's really important. Most of the hours I have on here, we try to drill down on some level to the application. I think that's where we're going to be focusing most of this hour on, the application, right?
Yeah,
where the rubber meets the road, getting your hands dirty. So, Ana, thanks for being here. To get us started, can you share a little bit about your past, specifically maybe when you first intersected with Daryl Miller, Bob Moffett, the DNA founders, and how you kind of joined the DNA?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Hi, Jeff.
I want to say hi to Ana in the comments. I'll let her know that you're saying hello.
Yeah, I can't see anything. Oh, anyway.
No, we're just...
Yes. But it's very interesting, especially when you talk about from the Amazon to Sahara. because I did grow up. I'm from Porto Velho, actually the north part of Brazil, and then I grew up in Belém, and then I joined a organization that I was doing training. And after I went to mercerships, to work like to from Caribe to Africa and blah blah blah. But in the way back, I always knew there was something beyond. And many people just talk about concept that for me, Jeff was like, okay, how really this work? I wanna eat this cake, not just to see how we make that cake. I grew up getting so much recipes all the time, of so many things, but I think I want to learn how to do it. And that's how I was in Tyler, Texas. I went there in 93, I believe, 95, when I went to do a foundation community development school, international school, to learn about cultures, people, and so many things. And then the director, actually, Chris Colby, very interesting lady, I love her, she decided to make experimental. And I was right there, when she said, well, I have these three guys that they teach such a rich stuff, deep concept, but they have never taught together. So she invited Daryl Miller, Bob Moffett, and Vishal Mangawadi. So I was there, half English, maybe even less. I'm still learning. I learned one language and I forgot the other one. So in that time, I felt I was in the lab, where they start to teach together, one listen to another about why nations are poor, like why so much poverty, and they start to talk about worldviews, biblical worldviews and different worldviews, and for me it was a really like, I don't know how to say, like a crash, of my, not that what I learned before was wrong. No, but I think everything that I have learned was like just an entrance for something that was so much more and bigger, than was just in the front of me. So that's how I met them, and I tried to hide myself, especially from Daryl, because it's very intense. And I like him, but I couldn't understand. It was too much beautiful philosophy, And then, but I was like, I could not resist. And
Yes.
I love that man, and Bob and Michelle.
Great.
Yes.
So you got to unpack it a little bit though. So you had an entranceway, and then you're exposed to more. What starts changing in your mind? And how does that, because we're getting down to rubber meeting the road today.
Yeah.
What sort of changes did that mean in the way you lived your life, or the focuses you had, your priorities?
Well, one thing is I'm a Christian, and then we have many types of understand sometimes, depend where you're growing up. So we can be sometimes very fatalistic, right? Like it's poor because God made poor, So nothing that we can do about. And for me, when they start to teaching about, wow, God has made us in His image. Okay, I learned this in Sunday school, but like how this can be practical for me, how I can face something that as His image, as co-creator, I could make change, and then and that's how after the school I went to Iran, I spent a few months there, and then after that I started to travel. I ended up in Mauritania, and I love that nation. Like it's my, I think I'm Mauritanian myself, but it was like a desert, it's one of the poorest nation in the world today. And then for me, that's how I start to face and apply. When I saw different things, there was like, well, that's inshallah nothing that we can do about. And I said, hey, what do I believe? What really my understanding, my faith and the truth, and God say, no, yes, you can do something about. He is sovereign, but we can do it. So that's how I start to make things like apply things. When there was dirty things, yes, we can make clean. Where there's poverty, we can go and see why and how we can make a difference. Not just be, accepting and praying about. Yeah. So there was many stories. I don't know if like some people do. I have a group of friends. We do the school Corondel that I love so much. And then sometimes people say, oh, coronel, I'm like, okay, do you understand really what that means, like in the real life? Oh, what is that? Oh, it's about beauty, about excellence. Oh, yeah, that's also, but it's not just that,
Mm.
And then when I came to Mauritania, like my first entrance was very interesting because I was just like I am with you today, Ana. I always say I love it because it's three little words. You start with A and ends with A, And then I came there and people like, who are you? Like half English, Brazilian, single, no money. What are you doing here? But I knew I was supposed to be there.
Mm.
And then I ended up meeting a Catholic nun that was working there at the prison. So, and she said, oh, Anita, come with me. You're going to be speaking Spanish. I'm like, oh, yes, I learned right now. And then we went to the women's prison. And that for me, Jeff, was like one of, I can say, maybe the crossroad where I face, something that I learned in the past, from the DNA message, like, that yes, we are made, to write history. You
Mm.
can write a signature in the universe. That's not just blah, blah, blah. And I went there and I said, how can people live in the place like that?
Mm.
Totally, like I could not see human living there.
Mm.
There was not a place to even to go like a bathroom.
Wow.
They have to take every day, like at 5 in the afternoon, whatever they did during the day. So I was there and she said, wait just a minute. And you live in Bolivia, you know how Latin America. And I wait for 5 hours. I was there by myself. And I was looking and said, God, what I'm doing here in this place? Like dark, doesn't smell that good. But when you start to remember, that every person, we all have been made in the image of God, the smell was like, go away. The people, start to be beautiful. I
Mm.
could see the eyes of the women and everything. And I said, I know I'm here. So that's after that, my story work in the prison system, start in Mauritania, and we make different things there. Yeah.
Wow. So if you're keeping track at home, you can, see how many countries has she been in now? How many languages is she speaking at this point in her story? Uh, so yeah, very, very cool. Um, you mentioned, the realization that, you've heard these words in Sunday school, but then there's kind of this aha moment of, oh wait, these actually have practical application, transforming something. You told me a story about uh, transforming the place you were living, your
Mm-hmm.
apartment, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that was a really good example. We have people going through Coram Deo, and it ends with encouraging them to do a seed project, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have this seed project being encouraged by this organization that's called Disciple Nations, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
sometimes people want to bite off this giant piece, say,
Yeah. Yeah.
all right, day one, let's transform the nation today. But
Exactly.
that's not how it happens, right? And you have many
Yeah.
examples in your life of how your sphere, your area, your domain, that's where you can act and advance the kingdom and transform. So could you tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit about, if you don't want to use the apartment example or the house
Yeah.
example, that's
Well,
fine, but I think
no,
it's a very good one.
I think that's what make us real. Like I don't want to be telling stories, beautiful stories, and actually like about the unconditional love of God, but I need to manifest it, this
Mm,
unconditional love of God, And then with the housing thing, when I moved to US, I start to really love Bath and Body. If you guys have that, please send to me.
mm.
All the candlelight, all this fragrancy. And then in Mauritania, that was like one of the things that I started to because people said, well, you're gonna only live here in these huge, beautiful mansions, or you're just gonna be really, really with the poor. I said, half must be a halfway. So
Mm,
there was my little house. I found one bedroom, and I said, God, that's your garden, you
mm,
know. So I said, if yes, I'm there for the people, for the invisible people. I want to really create things with him, not just to show him my project and say, hey, bless this thing here, but like how he see it, how I could see the beauty and goodness. But my home had to be the first place for that. And I used to talk with my daughter, just from that sometimes I said, oh, no, we cannot do that anymore in the house. She's like, mother, remember, because when she came, actually from the prison to this little place, she said there was no much, because some people, I think we make confusion. We think that simplicity is dirty or bad or too small, but simplicity is beauty. It's like it's transforming whatever you have in something that's just good and beauty. And that's how there was no furniture, actually wait for my mattress for 2 years, there was actually no even way for me to buy that. But it was like everyone that came in the house, that little place, they start to make a home. And I love my Muslim friends. Actually, they're the one who start to help me to bring stuff in the house, like I'm the family. They gave me the name, so I'm Bilal, Aisha Selma Bilal, my name. But it's just like how we can create that. And then, yes, from that little place or that big place, I don't know where you live, you can start to apply. If it's, I always say, God came to transform. He wants us to see transformation. Not, I don't know the name in English, but we call arrumation. Like you don't transform, you just try to fix it in the way that's not that nice, like cover up. No.
Yeah.
It's just like he's looking for transformation. So that's something that we be talk hours, and I said, that's my language here in Brazil, in Africa, in USA, in Europe. It's like how we can live Christianity in the simple way, but they can really manifest it, like who God is, in different ways, So yeah, sometimes we're just so focused, especially some people look at me, oh, women and I have done all these things. I don't even remember sometimes. Of course, I remember the people, but it's not about what I done. It's like how we can see people, growing with you and be transformed and just, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I answer your question.
No, that's good. And I hear from previous conversations and just now that, right, it's not about a program or a project for you. It's not about, this hour on the schedule today is my hour where I try to manifest the kingdom of God, right? It's
exactly.
You said, what'd you say to me the other? As you go, you make disciples, right?
Yeah,
it's part of living. It's Coram Deo, right? I mean, not to, but
yeah.
Every
and
area.
You just mentioned a very nice way, Jeff. I have to write down what you just said. It's like it's not about the program.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, this time is my ministry time, and I see there, like in America, we say 9 to 5. I have a leader in the past that said, don't call me after 5. I'm like, really? What if I'm dying? Only if you die. I'm like, okay. Something, well, it is about like what we do as a minister work or whatever you want to call, should be out of your vocation, of the passion that God's put in your heart, his DNA, and from that on, doesn't stop when you come home. It's a different thing because we have families, and for me, that was the big paradigm shift as well. The difference of sacred and secular that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, she was so trapped on that. We say that we are not. I go to places say, oh no, we do here, all the whole discipleship, like really. But yeah, at that time, can you go ministry to the neighbors? Said, can I just go have a coffee with them? Like moving here to England, was I think I have some cultural shocks, time to time. And sometimes I think I'm not gonna have in the place that I I did have here. Looking things that I said, how England is like that? No, could not be, And I'm very, very grateful that I make that move because I have a beautiful community around me, like I really feel loved. My girls always say, oh, mother, stop saying that. I said, listen, I'm loved and appreciated. Okay. I have to say that.
I think your daughters are in the comments section right now too. So
they are. Oh my goodness. All right. Please be kind to me, calendars too. And then, but like my neighbors, and I came in this place and I know, it's a neighborhood and I was afraid, like it was a lot of things that I didn't like it. And I said, how I'm going to do? And then the pandemic, like we have to be stuck here. But then after a month, like my neighbor in the front house, and I think I'm in a, like, the government area, like the
Okay.
poor area. So, and then he crossed and he half of this, he said, can you come here? I'm like, oh my Lord. And asked to my dad, I said, Mom, we should go. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went, I was afraid. And then he said, can you tell me if this color is beautiful? I'm painting my fence. I'm like, I didn't like much, the color. And they also said, it's
No.
beautiful. And they all said, it is, but I'll put something more stronger. So I came home, and then his wife came, and she said, you see what she told you? Be strong. And they said, that's what I think our life should be about.
Hmm.
Yes, God calls us sometimes, we think big things. I don't think that the big and small is the same, because God is the one who is
The
big.
big and the small are the same. That's one to
Yeah,
write
it's
down.
just like it's the same. What is big actually? What is big? This
Wow.
great servant of God. I'm like, please, don't do that to me. And then, but at the same time, it's like, wow, if my neighbor smile to me, if my life can really make a difference. And I was here about, oh, if your church not there anymore, are they gonna miss you? And they think, okay, I don't have a church. But if I'm not in my neighborhood anymore,
Mm.
is anybody gonna really miss me?
Mm.
Like, or they're gonna say, thank you, she's gone. So yeah. And from there on, we also should not limit ourselves. And I think people like me, and there are many that are work, many countries, nations, to really very serious about expanding, the kingdom of God in different areas. And sometimes we can limit ourselves. We say, okay, I'm already director of this organization. Oh, I'm a supervisor. Oh, I got that. Oh, I have the PhD, everything. And sometimes I said, we forgot to really learn, from the master.
Mm.
Like, I always say everything that, like, that people actually ask me the most about, to make a reform at the women's prison in Mauritania, to have a women guards, all this stuff. They said, oh, was after you school, law school? I said, no, actually was before there, because it's something that was God's project. It's not mine that I asked him to sign. And then after that, he starts to guide us. And then, yes, you can do your garden with some flowers, and you can make a proposal that goes right in the hands of the president. Like, this is how I think should go, because we are, partners with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it almost doesn't make sense to go go to a destination to try to impose some sort of transformation on it when you're leaving from a place that you haven't tried to transform yet, right? It's your space, your home. That's the smallest circle, right? Yourself, then your
Yeah.
family, and then
Mhm.
outward from that, you can begin to influence other
Yeah.
spaces.
One thing that I was thinking other day, and I always say, I talk to Sean sometimes, I'm so afraid to be pretentious. I am, I say, God, please save me for myself all the time.
Uh,
And then it's like one thing that sometimes hurt my heart, is especially when people relate to Africa or other places, say, oh, they need us. And I'm thinking, no, they don't.
mm, mm,
Actually, they don't. I need them.
mm,
Or Brazil, like when you met, oh, the Amazonian people, and you're like, no, we need them.
yeah,
Because as we have them, we can discover so much more of God. We start to have a glimpse actually of his creation. And then, yes, there are a lot of distortion because the fall, but we should not live on that fall. We should go to the original design. And
yeah.
then we start to do different things. I think each one of us should have, like I plan things, this month I should not even actually celebrate my birthday. It's gone so fast. So I'm going to keep my old age.
Great
So,
idea. Happy
yeah,
birthday.
but yeah, but it's just like how we can really, yes, we plan. We have this, like there one time he mentioned that to me. You can have this beautiful piece of Michelangelo, art here, but as he was still doing that, thinking he was doing different things. So what is the other things that we are doing with our life? And sometimes I see people waiting. Oh, I'm waiting for my retirement. Oh, really good. Oh, I'm waiting for that. And then I go. I say, go where? You know, like, of
Mm-hmm.
course, I believe
Mm-hmm.
in specific calling. I do, you know, place. But I believe that as you go, whatever you are, be yourself,
Mm.
you know, like be who you are and then love people. That's what's like for me is Bob Muffet hours, you know, love your neighbors. And I think, man, yeah, you know, I can be try to understand all things, but if I don't love my neighbor, you know, it's
No.
like I don't love myself and then don't love God, and that goes.
I think somebody said that before Bob Moffat too. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus, right. Okay.
God, I
Yeah.
was just saying that. Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
but you know, Bob, he emphasized that a lot.
yeah,
He
no.
lives there, you
Praise
know.
the Lord. So
Yeah.
I think what you just said, right? You're waiting to go somewhere, you have it on your calendar, or it's a different destination. And I think about 2020, the year 2020, and you
Yeah.
think about if you're if you were waiting to go somewhere or start a program or be in another spot or and before you started doing whatever you think you're called to do then how's that working out for you in 2020? It's not it's not a viable way of doing it, or at
I
least it's
think
not
you'll be
getting
very
going.
frustrated, you know,
Yeah.
like many people are. I think the atmosphere of fear is so terrible, it's so huge, you know, around us. And of course, you have to do restrictions, some things. You know, I follow law. No, I'm a lawyer in that sense, you know. But it's like I say, God, I don't want to walk in fear, you
Mm.
know. I want to actually, like, for example, for me, I said, people learn, and I always say that more with my failures, you know, the things that didn't work, actually, that with the things that, oh, Anna, she made it, she did it. I'm like, okay, some, you know, but it's like this, we planning so many things. I was in Mauritania, in Morocco, right before, you know, happened. One airport was closing after, you know, I moved to one, the other was closing behind. I'm like, okay, you know, and then I arrived here. But the first month I was like, what I'm doing, you know, like how are we gonna, should we wait? But later on, I start to be presented to something new that I'm not too comfortable yet. What is actually doing what I'm doing with you know, like I was doing more Zoom, even Zoom teaching, like I teach in YouTube, you know, I'm not gonna tell you
You're an
where. You know.
Instagrammer though, right? You're an Instagrammer.
Yeah, I watch more Instagram,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but like I was teaching in YouTube because we have groups of people, you know,
Mm-hmm.
so every week, but I have different groups. So for me, as every time, you know, I stop and I say, oh Lord, what I'm doing, you know, like I need to learn because I always say, no, I know who I am in the sense of gifts, you know, and I said, I'm not a master, you know, I like say I'm a pioneer, I'm an apostle, you know, like I like to create new things. I
Mm-hmm.
like to have table conversation, to be at the table, to talk, you know, to unite people, to talk, to encourage it. And but teaching, you know, people can be lost. By the time you start to learn is the end, you know, whatever I'm saying, you know. So but this is being stretching time. I said, no, but I can. So I start to help myself to learn a new friend, you know, a different thing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because I think we have opportunity, and many people didn't see. I don't think they didn't see this challenge of pandemic as an opportunity. You know, some people waiting for the sabbatic time or different things. You know, but I say, okay, I'm here. I really cannot travel. You know, so what can we do? So we start to do things. You
Mm.
know, so yeah, yeah.
Can I go back to your prison guard story? I'd like to hear that. Can you share that?
Yeah, that's one. I have a guy here too, but yeah, the prison is something that I'm still learning for the principle that I started to learn back there, you know? It's like not only about people, because I think as a Christian, we all focus on people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we forgot sometimes, well, God, you know, my relationship with God, you know, and those who are very merciful, you know, they go to have a social work, you know, so they have the mercy ministry, let's say. And then creation, forget about who's talking about environment, maybe Greenpeace, you know. So for me to be there in a place that we look in and say, wow, that's really, we need a lot of things here. It's not only that relationship, you know, that have to be restored,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also people relationship and the environment, you know. So I did fight a lot, you know, with the director, because it was an Arab man, they, oh man, I was there, so I put on my veil, I was there, and they're like, and I remember he always say, why, Anna, you fighting for those women?
Hmm.
I'm like, why? And then, like talk and, argue with him. And I said, present to him, like, just work with me here, the administration, and the male president said, no, no. And one day I actually fired myself. I said, I'm not working with you anymore for 3 days. I knew you called me. And he did. And they came back and they said, hey, I I would like to take them to a different place. He said, why? You know, I said, because they need place to make a garden. I love garden.
Hmm.
And then they said, no, they have to be in the cells. I said, no. So we end up doing, and I have a very good friend. I don't know if she's there, Mariata. She's a, oh my Lord, she's a lady, who really want to see transformation in her nation. Her whole family, is so much for changes, and she was there at the administration and she's behind me. So we move. But when we move to that place, and actually before that, you know, um, I moved from my little house that I told you at the beginning because
Hmm.
there was robbers. They came when I was working at
Hmm.
the jail, and they came home and I said, "Oh, my sunflowers in the floor, the trees," and then everything was empty. So,
Hmm.
my director said, "Move now." So I did. So from that little house, I went to one of 9 bedrooms. I stayed for not too long, and then next to my house was the like a candidate for the presidency, was election year, and the other one was the representative of UNICEF. And then I remember one day knocking my door, and then there was this German lady, the UNICEF representative, said, my name is Uta, and I want to know who are you? Are you like a carpenter or like a bookseller or something? You doing things here like in your garden, like you painting like a shelves? I said, no, I'm making beds for the women's prison.
Oh,
He
wow.
said, well, I look through my window, I'm very curious, and I see that in your garden in the morning you have all those people from here, the Mauritanians, they eating, you sit on the floor and eat with them, you know, with hands. And then in the evening, I see cars from the embassies, I'm like, yeah, they're all the same, anyway, we just change the menu, you know. So, and then when we moved there, and that's how I was taking my heart, said, people, they're all, just so precious and made in the image of God. So, different function, different way to do things, but the prisoners, they deserve, not to have the dignity being declared, but to be recognized. So, but for that happen, I'm not going to be giving things to them. So we start to do things together. So I brought teams and we painted the whole place. It was so beautiful, like you have fitness in the garden, the garden, because it was just a desert. And
Hmm.
Jeff, I never saw like a watermelon so big the way we saw there in different things. So what I see there, why I'm telling this story, is like when you really want to disciple as you go, follow really here, you don't have to have the whole plan. We do have to
Hmm.
start, but and then you also have to be tuned, to be able to walk in the water, you
Hmm.
know, thinking that, wow, maybe I'm going to really drown, maybe not, but and then we do, and then you see transformation because we see, for me, I think, okay, um, hmm, gratitude brings contentment, and contentment is really bring happiness, you know. So for that, is my saying with the women's in the prison or on the streets, now with the trafficking and all these things. Yeah,
Tiana, there she is.
my Lord, she
Thank you. So,
there.
uh, you've had cross cultural experience after cross cultural experience after cross cultural experience, and you just said you need, you can have something of a plan, but you need to be listening. Can you share a little bit about? I think a lot of people, if they're going because they think they've got something to share, right? They've got an answer. And so they're going to teach. But I think you have a heart, you've shared with me before that you go and you listen. Can you kind of unpack that difference there and why that's important?
Yeah, well, I think it's hard for people to believe that I listen, but I do, like I love to talk.
Yeah.
But there's a point where it's just like, man, Until today, I see that happen. Doesn't matter where we go, for people that do the type of work we do in the nations, humanitarian work, or, it just we go there and then people, oh, Anna need this. They never ask me what I need.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think the key is first, doesn't matter, if that family or people or person, individual live in the palace or live in the shack.
Mhm.
Like we have to see, and like we have ideas, like I go to a house like that, my mind go like, wow, I want to plan the whole thing. But no, I really have to ask what actually they need, and not here the first, but just like, okay, what is really the real need? What I can learn from that. And after I learn with them, a lot of things that I need to learn, and then yes, we can plan together. And of course, we don't do that in the relief situation, like floods or
Yeah.
drought, things like that. You go in, but most of us, we go in situation that you want to see people blossom, like flourishing.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think what we do, we throw sand and dirt, because we have a baggage, a backpack that we bring sometimes,
Mm.
that we really want to empty to tell the people back home that we empty a backpack, that we deliver everything there.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't ask if the
Mm.
things that we have in a backpack is really good for those people,
Yeah.
So as we listen, and that has been my really learning until today, and I never want to stop.
Yeah.
Like listen, asking people, yes, the government, the authority, yeah, they have a say. Civil society, they have a say. The people, Maria in her home have a say. Like what is that? And then I think that's why when I love history, like narrative, I think God walk in the garden with Adam and Eve, like what was the conversation about?
Mm.
I don't think he came every day to say, hey, I brought something to you, that was there that you need here. But probably he say, hey, how you guys doing? Is anything else here that maybe you should be creating together, that you can? So it's like a conversation.
Wow.
So because of, I think we have this in a DNA, we are called to multiply this,
Mm.
and people feel honor.
Yeah.
It is about something that I love at DNA. I have a friend, you probably know him, Afonso Sharini, I love him. And then he went to, I think, the first forum. He's got like director of a mission organization doing all these things and pioneer. And then he came and I said, where are you gonna learn that? He said, I love that, man. He came back and said, two things that I learned. I said, tell me. Honor and service. They have this,
Mm.
that group. And I said, yeah, because when we honor and serve others, the love is right there,
Yeah.
and then we should, how we see, not transfer, but to do that the same, in whatever group we are.
Mm.
And normally we just segregate. Unfortunately, we do this very well in a group.
Yeah.
But can I do this with a group of prostitutes? Can I honor them and serve them?
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so good. I think part of in hearing and learning, listening and learning, and then also working from, the DNA playbook, working from our biblical worldview,
Mhm.
we can't, you've made your house, Anna. You can't walk into somebody else's house and say, let me just build this house out the way I want it built out for you. Right. It's one of those, instead of teaching someone to, or instead of giving somebody a fish, you're teaching them to fish, right? You don't have all the answers for them. You don't live in their context. You don't have their experiences. So you can equip them and you can help them through it, but it's not about unpacking the backpack. I really like that metaphor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Jeff. And it's something that come to my mind when you say about that is, the Chinese proverbs about, you don't give it fish, but teach them how to fish. And then I remember talk with another friend, I love friends, and then we talk about Jesus. I said, well, I think that's incomplete because, yeah, and then we all go. We have this nice outreach, and you go to teach them how to fish. But we have not even done, like, how you say, homework
Mm.
to find out there is a lake or a river or a place where they can fish.
Yeah.
So we end up teaching things that people never use it.
Wow.
you
Yeah.
know. So for me, it's again, you know, like how it's processed. I said, okay, how we do that? Are they really need to do nails? You know, like I do, but Brazilian. But what the other one? So how we do things?
Yeah.
And I believe the answer always come as we look at people's eyes, really, you know, after the third time they answer, you know, and then you see, yeah, okay, that's what you really need, you know,
Mm.
not assuming, you know, and
Yeah.
of course, you have to be in tune with the Holy Spirit as well.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, we're about 2/3 of the way done. We have about 20 minutes left.
Oh, that's
Uh,
fast.
you feeling comfortable? Yeah, right?
No, I can be like 2 hours. I
An
can.
hour is never enough time. Trust me. So, Anna, you were in Malaga with Darrow for the Dignity of Women project, the Grand Design project we're calling it now.
Yeah.
Um, you've been a champion of that cause for a long time, and uh, I would say the principal way in which you are fighting on that front for the dignity of women is with Fragile, your
Yeah.
organization, right? Could you share a little
Hmm.
bit about what that is, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll spend the last 20 minutes kind of talking about.
Yeah, well, Fragile is very interesting, you know, like how actually the concept came, you know, about. I was in Brazil. I was finishing law school, and then until that time, I think I was 25 years already living, you know, North Africa, not Middle East, but Central Asia. You know, I went there in different countries. But and then when I was finishing, you know, my time, I feel that, you know, God was really saying something different to me. And I said, okay, I have been a general clinical all my life doing development, everything, you know, can do that. You can do almost anything, you know, with people, you know, just have idea and let they do it. That's how it works. And then, but in the end, I was like, okay, I am standing before, you know, institution here of justice and injustice,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I have been preparing myself to really to go and say, hey, how I can be, you know, a voice for those who doesn't know how to defend themselves and all these things, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then because my two daughters, you know, for me is something that God teach me every day just by looking to them, and they come from two different types of injustice, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like the oldest one was abuse of power, you know, with the whole thing. With she was, you know, she was in the prison. She grew up there until about 8, maybe 7, 8. You know, a lot of things. You know, she came like a new baby. You know, newborn, there with her mother. Then there was so many things that she went through. You know, like so much that you know relate to human trafficking, to exploitation, to domestic, you know, like not domestic, like prison labor, all these things. And then the other one is coming out of the like natural disaster. That's another injustice, but it's
Mm-hmm.
a natural disaster, like hunger, you know, was a draw and everybody was really hungry, you know. And so I look to them and I think, okay, God, where? You know, for which, not for which one I'm going to choose. It's not about choosing one of the other, but where I'm going to stand now. And I knew that many people that I knew, many organizations, lots, you know, was all engaged on that relief, development, go, you know, for the poor and hungry and everything. And I said, that's
Mm-hmm.
good. We need more issue, you know. But the other side, I was like, wow, that is the exploitation, human trafficking. What is this? You know? So as I started to learn, I said, no way. It's not, you know, like think about women and girls, especially because you know the industry that's today. Like if you look at, if you think, even in the pandemic, we talk about, you know, everybody's been doing awareness, prevention, you
Mm-hmm.
know, doing all these things to take care of themselves, to not catch the COVID, you know, wow, mask and everything. And then if you go to the hospital, they try to rescue you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you know to restore you. And I would stop and I said, wow, yes, this is a virus, but we are facing another virus, very destructive, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that's have a name, and actually is taking more than 45 million people under modern slavery. You know, so at that time when I decided to choose that, to start Fragile was about seeing the pain of women like me, and others, and how to go about. And at that time was 27,000 million, of slavery. Today is 40, 45, And I was challenged by one prosecutor in Brazil. I was having a coffee with him, and then he said, "Oh no, yeah, what you do is very nice, it's great, but you're gonna always be like a general clinical, like what? It's not good." He said, "When are you gonna be more chirurgical?"
Yeah, right. I love this metaphor. You
When?
talk about a general
Yeah,
practitioner, a
yeah,
physician, general medicine
exactly.
versus a surgeon.
And then that's how I said, no, I'm gonna take a lot, but I want to. And then I start to understand that it's not just about the fight to be a woman stronger, like a
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
not about that. It should really go back to what the grand design, concept is like, to the original design, going back,
Mm.
image of God and how we can. So yeah, and then we've been doing a lot of things. I can say it's but I don't know about your question if it's about that, like the programs or what we do and
Yeah,
how
well, so
stories
tell
we
me,
have.
tell me, you decide to be more surgical. You decide to zero in. What did that look like? What does a focus on this in this area look like?
Well, when I decide to do that zeroing, I have to, and that's I think for all of us that are trying maybe to go for a change of pace.
Hmm.
Sometimes not a change of place, it's just change of pace, and I did. And then for me, it was like, oh, what I'm doing. So I go to Spain. Oh
Hmm.
Lord, sun, beautiful, the ocean. I miss that, but just that part, the other part I have here. And then, so what's happened is I had to take time, and depression, from outside is so strong. What are you doing? How many people really rescue and touch? And I'm like, none, like I had to learn.
Yeah, yeah.
So I moved to Morocco, kind of. Actually, I lived there in 6 months in Marrakesh. And then to know, I said, is really trafficking happen here? Or this is just blah, 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 because there was no other organization work. Sometimes we assume things and we promote things without really go deeper.
Mm.
So I started to go and see things, and I said, yeah, in Malaga, we do have intervention. You go to the streets because that is like a destination, transit, and everything.
Mm.
Sub-Sahara women, Latin American women, East
Mm.
European women, all come. But in Morocco, I said, I don't see it. I know there is a lot of prostitution in Marrakesh, but so I ended up going to a village very far in the Atlas, beautiful place, Tigili, you know, and then start to meet people. I went there first time with a Brazilian team, 2010, but and then talk with them, family, women, see beautiful women, girls. And then I start to hear, well, they have school until 16. And then what happened after? They go to the big cities. And then they get trapped,
Mm.
because they always want to work. They're going to go to Belgium, Turkey, all this place. And that's where the traffic come.
Mm.
So after I have a lot of conversation with the people there, that is not a tourist area, it's about 300,000 people that live in that area. We have a school that was given to us 800 students, like a boarding school. The leader of the community came and he said to me, Ana, yeah, no, there is no traffic here. Maybe one or two girls has been trapped.
Mm.
But can we do something? Can we come before the traffickers do?
Mm.
So prevention. And
Yeah.
that for me, it was a learning, Jeff, because normally, we as a Christian, we don't like prevention because, prevention is not sensational.
Yeah, yeah.
Who cares about teaching people to not do it? Prostitution, no. They care for those who go and rescue, the brave ones. In my house, like, I don't want to see young girls, women, going through all this pain. If they just could hear before something that could stop them.
Mm.
So that's how we develop, a prevention program. You have different ones, intervention. They start to really be like calls from Thailand, neighborhood of Moroccans in Thailand, things like that. It's growing
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. So yeah, the industry is growing. During this pandemic here, I know in USA, the children's, exploitation, all this stuff. but here it's being worse as well,
Mhm.
like in Portugal, in UK, children's
Yeah.
being exploited by mothers, different things like that, terrible stuff that I hear. And I think, well, this is actually want to make me to just, throw up, stories and stories, suffering that has no end, because it's not about to just to fix it, and
Mhm.
give for a homeless a house,
Yeah.
but after your house yourself is being destroyed, like take a long time,
Yeah.
sometimes a whole life, yeah.
Yeah. No,
So
that's well, that's a good word on prevention, right? And that goes with the medical metaphor again, right? I mean, if you're talking to the surgeon, things have gotten pretty bad. If you're talking to the general practitioner a step earlier, well, you're worried about something. If you're talking to the nutritionist before that, then you might never even see the general practitioner because you've taken care
exactly.
of the organism the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But seems like not important, it
yeah,
seems that
yeah.
not, yeah.
No, that's good. Really good. So for the people watching or listening, what can we do to help? What does Fragile need specifically, or just the fight in general against sex trafficking and human trafficking?
Well, because I am in a new place, and actually has been a transition even before we came here to expand the gender, because I have been really focused on women and girls.
Okay.
And then, especially authorities came to us, said, can you please do the boys too? We have
Hmm.
seen boys, especially from Brazil, they go to Italy, most of them,
Hmm.
like, yeah. So we are like in the transition, and they're gonna. I have to do another time of studies, diagnose, and see it. And while we're doing this, I'm glad that the things are open up now. Because we've been locked down, and I'm starting to visit the areas here in Manchester and going back. I think in a couple months or less to Mauritania, uh, because it's kind of like this is why I think it's terrible. We should not be just in a little box. At the same time, we should force ourselves to be more always surgical, like to not try to be out, because we cannot fix everything.
Hmm.
So fragile now, we need people, you
Hmm.
know um, professional people that can help in the assessment, have language, like the areas that we work is French, Arabic,
Okay.
most of all. And now Spanish in the halfway, of between Mauritania and Morocco. But we are also looking different regions, because it's kind of like I don't know how I can like say that. It's like a circle. Like the girl who I am dealing, let's say now, she is from Europe.
Hmm.
She was trafficked to Ireland. Ireland, they go to England. England, Spain, Brazil, and now she's stuck in Morocco. Nobody can do anything about. So it's like it's hard for us to even to like close a region. So now, right now, I'm just really asking, the Lord for people, for the church, for the people community. Like the Muslim community are really doing a lot of awareness. And sometimes I think, if we can just learn with the others, put a difference down,
Hmm.
know that people know things. Like I learned so much doing in a congress in Madrid about a Muslim organization who found out about the traffic of organs that was happening in Sinai, for many years, and nobody could find that. So different things like that. So can we learn with other people, so for now, for the people that are watching, is like, if you like to do something about, you don't have to join Fragile. We
Right.
can talk about a lot of things, but one thing is at least try to find out about human trafficking. Try to find out that could be with your daughter, with your wife, with your mother. We never know. It's like COVID-19, like people now start to get away. How can get it? Washing hands, mask and everything. Can we do something about the other?
Hmm.
So yeah. And then what I'll be doing now in the next months, and that's where I think for the human resource that we're going to need, and I'm really asking God about that, is with the grand design to give more understand of people, to people, not just about a ministry or project or something here or there, but go to their beliefs,
Hmm.
understand who are we, how have we been made? If you people really have understand of a design, male and female, lots of those things, you'll be just like, we don't have to even talk more about it. Have to go to, we're going to start to narrow more,
Yeah.
and have a better fight to fight. And sometimes I think we just like here, don't know which kind of, I don't know, fly we're going to hit because there's too many of them, but we have to identify it. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I don't know if I,
Yeah, no, so I think Jessie will link it in the comments if she hasn't already, but what's the best way to contact you if someone in the audience wants
I have Fragile has a website. We are in
Okay.
transition, but it's still there. And
Okay.
then when we change, if you want to write and ask questions, it's Fragile International. We have a Facebook page,
Okay.
and we have a YouTube, Instagram, all Fragile, like Fragile, Portuguese, Spanish, Fragile Internacional. I can write, I think maybe Jesse has that.
Jesse, you can be Googling it right now. Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah. So.
Great. So you mentioned the Grand Design Project as a tool. We really hope that'll be a tool. If those watching want to be one of the first to see it when it finally does come out, make sure you sign up for our newsletter. You can do that on our page, disciplenations.org. We had some great people participate in the filming, you and 20 others, or 19 others, maybe 20 total, and have some great people who've been working on it as well to create a new learning tool to help people understand God's great grand design. Anna, do you have any parting words, anything you want the people listening to know, something you've learned over the years that you want to share in the final minutes here?
Well, I think I mentioned that in the beginning, yeah. But to really live in simplicity, to know who you are. Because when we don't know who we are in God, because we need to know who created us, right? I think the big thing is that, who have created us. So I am created in the image of God, yes. So what I have, and then start to go to all these questions that everybody has, who I am, what I'm gonna do, blah, blah, blah. But first is who create me, and then like be yourself, be authentic, like don't try to be someone that you're not made to be, So and just go. Like I'm not when I say go, I'm not say travel, or I don't say go to continents. I say just don't be static, like, just walk. And as you walk, manifest, the kingdom marks. That's beauty, goodness, and truth. Don't try to preach much of that or just be teaching that. I think the hungry of our days, because I hear this generation, my daughters and others, 20s, 30s, and even older ones, like they're tired to hear things, teaching, like even though we need so much.
Yeah.
But even for myself, I can say that because one of, like Dad is a great teacher. But you know what really helped me to walk with him through these 30 years now almost is because it wasn't just a book, was who he is. Listen, loving, doing, So that's what I would say. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Should I think.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anna, thank you so much for joining us. It was such a blessing. If this hour was a blessing to you, let us know in the comments. Send a message to Anna. Share this video. If you want to find out more about Disciple Nations, again, you can visit disciplenations.org. Right now, you can take the Coram Deo Basics course in 6 or 7 languages. We have some other courses available as well. In English, mostly right now. Have a few more coming out in some other languages soon. And Grand Design will be out sometime soon. So please check back for that. We will be back next week with another guest. I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you so much, and we'll see you then. God bless you all.